Good evening and welcome to the November 17th, 2022 meeting of the Mount Juliet Municipal and Regional Planning Commission meeting. As we begin tonight's meeting, want to make a few notes. Commissioner Christensen could not be here tonight due to a obligation. My vice chairman, Mr. Rast, is suffering from the flu at this moment. So we wish him a speedy recovery, and Commissioner Cunningham as well, due to a family medical issue, unfortunately is not going to be here tonight. Would like to extend my prayers to Commissioner Cunningham as well for what they have going on within their family. So with that being said, I want to start our meeting tonight with the absence of 3 members tonight, and discuss a quorum. Quorum is the presence of 5 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The chairperson at his or her discretion may wait up to 30 minutes after the scheduled meeting time for a quorum to be present. In the event that a member is required to leave a meeting prior to adjournment and the departure causes a loss of quorum, no further action may be taken until a quorum is restored other than an adjournment. A majority vote of those commissioners present, and in no case less than 4 affirmative votes, shall be required to decide any item of business requiring action by the commission. We do have a quorum present at this meeting tonight, and 4 affirmative votes would constitute action on any item that we have moving forward. So I wanted to explain that as we begin, and with that, our first item up on our agenda is, and let me make one more note. For those that aren't aware, in order to serve on the Planning Commission, we are required to attend continuing education each and every year. Hats off to all staff, Jill, and whatnot that put that together. I have been a part of a lot of them now, and it was just very well done. Shorty and his comments, and Mr. Barlow as well. Just a very informative session. Very good meeting. We did enjoy some good food as well. And so my gratitude for you all to put that together, and very, very, very well done. And as Ms. Hamlin and I spoke at the end, it was oftentimes we're sitting here and we have to find some continuing education hours for some members of the commission, and happy to announce we had a 100% attendance to the meeting as well. So that was very exciting also. So just thank you all for what you do. You're oftentimes in thankless positions, and our gratitude up here is certainly extended to each and every one of you. Thank you all. With that being said, our next item up is to set our agenda. We do have one item on the agenda that we wish to add. We'll add it at the back of the published agenda. It will become item 6.1. All planning commissioners should have received an updated copy. Item 6.1 will be to review the reconsideration of Public Works comment number 1 for City Station located at 2049 North Mount Juliet Road. Once again, being added as item 6.1 to the back of our agenda. Any other changes or amendments? Seeing none, we will set the agenda as stated. Begin our meeting tonight with our staff reports, and start with our planning director, Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. I think you read the notes. That's my agenda, because your report is exactly my report.
Wonderful.
So thank you for that. I appreciate everybody showing up and having that 100% attendance. Shorty and Andy and Gino did a fantastic job presenting, and Jill did an amazing job setting that up. So I wanted to thank everybody and wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Schmur, Public Works.
Giving Andy a day off to go watch his daughter play some basketball. So hopefully we get a nice, easy meeting tonight. Thank you guys for coming to the training we had. Jennifer and crew did a great job. Jennifer does a lot of work putting her time into that, and it was well done. Shorty from our staff also did a great job, along with the director as well. Update a few projects. We have construction bids for.
We don't have one.
Oh, sorry. received bids for the roundabout project at South Green Hill and Willoughby Station. We'll be proceeding with the contract to the BOC fairly soon. Cedar Creek Greenway, all they've got left to do on that is put final topping, finish the approaches, final grading. So hopefully that'll be done next week. Last update I've got. So actually ran a little bit of that this morning. It's going to be beautiful once spring hits. So it's a very good project that got done. Mundy Park, our stormwater project, we're looking to get that complete probably with some of the weather we've had the last couple of weeks. That's going to be done in mid-December, but that's coming along as well. Mr. Barlow's been working on the cost mitigation study that's in draft form and I think under legal review as we speak. And last but not least, we've been working on a new route for the Western Connector. There will be a public meeting at Charlie Daniels Park on December the 8th at 6 p.m. So I urge all citizens who live on that side of town to attend. They've got some alignments drafted up, and it'll probably be similar to what we had here for the Pleasant Grove Road widening as well. So that concludes my report. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.
Wonderful. Thank you. To yours as well. Next item up on our agenda are citizen comments. This time we will take citizen comments. The public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda tonight. There'll be two opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and anyone wishing to make comment at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll move forward with our first item on the agenda. First item up is item 2.1. It's the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from October 20th of 2022. Any amendments, typos, adjustments? Seeing none, this time, Commissioner Searcy, you got one? Got a motion to approve? And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda is our consent agenda items. We'll begin with item 3.1, the development letter of credit number 165-145-7852-818 for Beckwith Crossing Phase 2 in the amount of $191,083.73 can be released. Item 3.2, the development letter of credit number 684-020-1533, cashier's check for Park Glen Phase 6B in the amount of $46,326.13 can be released. Item 3.3, which is a recommendation item to the Board of Commissioners, is to review the annexation and plan of services for the Smith property located at 690 through 694 South Rutland Road. Item 3.4, review the parking plan for Stay, Learn, and Play located at 14270 Lebanon Road. Item 3.5, review the final plat for the Grove at Nonneville located off Nonneville Road. Item 3.6, review the final plat for the Adams Lane subdivision located off of Adams Lane. Item 3.7, review the final plat for Project Jolene, lots 1, 2, and 3 located off Athletes Way North. And item 3.8, review the final master development plan for the Project Jolene warehouses located off Athletes Way North. Ms. Hamlin.
His recommendation for 3.3 with our conditions as listed. Thank you.
Very well. Shane?
Staff recommends approval except for item 3.6, the Adams Lane subdivision. All comments have been addressed and we would like to remove those comments.
Very well. Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? This time I'd like to call for citizen comments in regards to any item on the consent agenda. Anyone wishing to make comment, please come to the microphone and name and address for the record, please. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll be closing the Planning Commission meeting in order to open a public hearing. The public hearing is in regards to item 3.5, which is review the final plat for the Grove at Nonneville located off Nonneville Road. Item 3.6, review the final plat for the Adams Lane subdivision located off of Adams Lane. Item 3.7, review the final plat for Project Jolene, lots 1, 2, and 3, located off Athletes Way North. Anyone wishing to make comment during the public hearing is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no comments at this time, we'll close the public hearing, reopen the Planning Commission meeting, and at which time I'm looking for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved and positively recommended. Would okay to hear 4, 1, and 5 on together? Separate them? We're separating them. All right. At this point in time, we next item up on our agenda falls underneath the land use plan amendment. This is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the land use plan amendment for 13506 Lebanon Road. This is the land use plan amendment only. Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. Staff does not support the land use plan amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from Public Works?
We do not have any.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, ask for representation of the project and name and address for the record.
Nathan Quinn, 409 B&A Drive with Four Star Group. Just want to first thank staff and Planning Commission for all the feedback we received last month. It really helped us revise our plan and present something more in line with what the city of Mount Juliet we feel is looking for along the Lebanon Road corridor. And we're excited about the plan we put forth. Speaking to the land use amendment specifically, it's future land use is thoroughfare commercial. And we felt to keep in line with the character of the Lebanon Road that to rezone the entire property to commercial didn't make sense, and it was more in line to restrict that commercial frontage to about 300 feet from Lebanon Road and the rest for residential. And we just really appreciate, speaking to that, Darren bringing up, I know he's not here tonight, the affordable housing. We feel that's really important to bring to the city of Mount Juliet. And Luke spoke last month to the importance of transitional zoning and the commercial frontage backed by the townhomes provides that transitional buffer from commercial usage through the townhomes to single family, which is already present. And we really appreciate hearing from residents and other Board of Commission members, especially Bill Trevette, who spoke last month and said that he liked the commercial frontage and the homes as well. And mainly there's a little bit of misinformation last month about the school information that we presented. And if the board will allow or Planning Commission will allow, I'd like to approach and give you all that data specifically from the director and deputy director of Wilson County Schools with current school capacities.
That'd be
If that's
best
okay.
at land use plan or best at when we hear your presentation for your for the preliminary master development plan? Probably better at that point.
Probably better at that point. I can hold till then.
Very well.
That's all I have at this time on land use.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? This time, let's call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Bill Trevette, 1403 Brighton Circle. Thank you, board, for being here tonight. Yes, last meeting, I do like the option of some type of commercial on Lebanon Road. I think the idea is going to benefit that area. However, as I've spoken with the developer as well as some of the board members and staff, I still think there's many opportunities for improvement. as well as I'd really like the developer to come back with a better, stronger plan when it comes to, moving forward if, if this board does decide to consider, the second phase there. Thank you.
Thank you.
How y'all doing? Ray Justice, I'm the Commissioner of District 1. This falls inside of my district. I've gotten the plan sent to me by the developer on a couple of different occasions. And I was a little concerned of whether to do this, to submit this as a PUD or whether they're going to submit it with two separate zonings for two separate tracts of land. So I'm sure that's what staff is looking at when they're trying to figure out exactly how to go forward with this. And I think there may have been some mixed messages that they received, not necessarily from staff, but maybe from some of the commissioners. And what Commissioner Trevette just said is absolutely correct. There is a lot of room in there for improvement. There's a lot of opportunity in there. We haven't seen a lot of activity on that particular section of the road because of the infrastructure just wasn't there. Now we've got a lot going on in that particular area with the Green Hill High School coming over. We've got the red light right there, which everybody knows that when you got a red light, that creates a commercial area because it creates corner lots. And people would start looking at the church, for instance, was mentioned as far as trying to get something done there to go commercial rather than have the church at that location. I'm not going there because I don't want to go in with the church. That would not be fun at all. But I will tell you that when we've got a commercial corridor and we've got an opportunity to develop it, I would rather not see that stopped at this location, but give us an opportunity at the planning or the city commission to have it sent to us. So with land use plan amendment, that gives it an opportunity to come over to the city commission, and then we can work with the developer. And if they can't come up with something that we can all approve at the city commission level, then we can do something else with it. I just don't want to see the door shut here tonight. If there's any way that y'all can give it a positive recommendation to get to us, I would appreciate the opportunity to look at it further.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time?
Good evening, Jeff Stover. I live at 2604 Potomac Court, which is just off of South Green Hill. If I'm understanding this portion of the meeting, and Mr. Chairman, please correct me wrong, this is a review to change the zoning?
Land use plan only.
Okay, so the use of the plan. Okay. Previously, it was zoned for residential 40. The plan now is future development. I understand. I saw the plan May, I believe, of this year, is for commercial. As a resident that lives in that area, I understand the views of commercial being put on Lebanon Road. I guess the question I have, especially after listening to the last meeting, we're talking about potential retail, mom and pop, maybe a place to eat. You go a quarter mile up the road, you have it. Go a quarter mile the other way up the road, you have it. That intersection right there is horrendous. It isn't a 90-90. Anybody that's been there knows it's not a 90-90. To put more traffic there and stopping it, I don't think is advantageous for commercial development. What it's there for, you're going to get development. You'll be calling tow trucks because of all the accidents. I think it should be left the way it is, and don't make the change, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Seeing no additional comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion, which would be a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. I'll make a motion for a positive recommendation, subject to the approval of the preliminary master development plan.
Is it approval by the BOC or approval by the planning commission?
Be ultimately the approval by the BOC. So if it fails at the BOC, then it reverts back. Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
That would be a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Next item up on the agenda is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 5.1 is review the preliminary master development plan, planned unit development, including a rezone from RS 40 to CMU PUD for 13506 Lebanon Road. Ms. Hamblin?
Since the last time you saw this plan, you will notice a few minor changes. They've increased the commercial to 21%. We've lost a little bit of additional parking in the center on the northerly section of this development. You can see there's maybe 9 additional spaces, which does cause staff concern on the single car garages and the single car driveways. They have indicated that the end units will be double driveways. I also have a concern regarding the fence placement for the 2 corner southwest units. You'll see that buffer yard encroaches into the building slightly. So I'd like to look at a different alternative there for that fence buffer. I think the most important thing that we are looking at staff is a trigger on when the commercial is going to be completed. I've met with these guys several times. They've indicated that they are not commercial developers, and it's hard to make a commitment from them as to when that commercial is going to be completed. I believe they have every intent of getting the pad ready, but until that commercial is there, we're just looking at a multifamily development, which does cause me a little concern. So looking at some guidance from you guys on a commercial trigger, maybe it's by CO or a certain phase, just when y'all want to see that commercial completed. Because just like Commissioner Justice stated, we want commercial in that corridor, but if they're not interested in building that commercial, just the multifamily, we need to set that standard for them. Let's see. Another issue I have is the sidewalk encroaches to the buffer on the west there. And I've talked to Mr. Quinn about maybe reducing that buffer to 10 feet to get that trail out of that buffer area. You see it there on the north side or on the west side there. And I do have concern about the lack of parking around the amenity center. And again, that additional parking on the north section of these townhomes. I was just making sure if I don't have anything else written down. On the 3rd page of our staff report, it goes over our waivers that they've asked for from us. I believe we support all but the request of the garage size reduction from 11 by 19 for the townhomes. We require 14 by 20 and no water heaters, stairs, et cetera, may encroach in that. And I'd like to see that meet our code. Other than that, we are here to answer any questions if you have any.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, Public Works?
Director Barlow was in more of the conversations of this development before Planning Commission. A few points of emphasis that we had. If you guys do choose to move this on to the FMDP level, item number 2 and item number 4, we're willing to work with the developer on finalizing those details at the FMDP stage. And item 6A, materials with an emphasis on having curb and gutter within the development. Although these will be private streets, I think from a stormwater perspective, we recommend that curb and gutter be installed with the roadways. And that's all we've got.
Wonderful. Questions or comments from the Planning Commission at this time? Mr. Heffer, please.
I did meet with the developers on this, spoke to them. I gave my feedback. I asked for some single-family homes. I don't see them. There's a lot of high density in here, townhomes, concentrated in that area. I like the increase in the commercial. I was asking for 25%. You got the 20%. I asked for 25. I'd like to see more single-family homes towards the back of this project. So working from commercial to possibly even some villa style residence, tapering it to lower density, single family homes. That's what I would look for as this comes before the BOC. So,
Appreciate those comments. And
and I told you these comments before, and nothing changed.
yes, sir, I understand that, Mr. Hefner. And
Hang on, you're not on record yet. One moment. Are you addressing that staff,
Yeah.
right, or just comments?
Just comments.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, wonderful. Further questions, comments from the commission? At this time, representation, name and address for the record, please.
Nathan Quinn, 2 B&A Drive. And already talked about some of this, but speaking to Mr. Hefner's comments, we did increase the commercial from 10% to 20%. And the main driving force behind that is from talking with different commercial developers, by pulling it back further became less attractive for the type of usage that the city of Mount Juliet is looking for in terms of retail and maybe mom and pop or restaurants. And we kept it there because it was more in keeping with what was attractive to commercial developers, which will then in turn help us get it pad ready and then vertical faster. The residential we spoke about at last month's planning commission, and Luke Westchester spoke to this specifically and the importance of transitional zoning. And given the existence of single family presently, we're providing that buffer through the townhomes to the single family homes that are already present on South Green Hill and Madeiras. And ultimately, we feel that if you support small business opportunities, if you support employment opportunities for Mount Juliet, and you support increased sales revenue from taxes for Mount Juliet, which can then be in turn directed towards public safety and infrastructure opportunities for the city. And if you support affordable for sale townhomes for young families, single parents, and first-time home buyers, then we would really appreciate your positive recommendation to proceed to Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'm going to throw in a couple of brief comments on this one. One of them, and I know that this will end up being an engineering deal, which I am not licensed, certified, or anything else out there, but want the comment to remain in record. Concerns over capturing the stormwater on the southern units, and making sure that even though that's not, I know that the retention pond or detention pond is being a little bit overbuilt to handle the stormwater at the top. But to make certain that the units at the bottom or the south side of this, which are not flowing to the detention pond, that we get a report to make sure that the impact on that is to the stream to the south is minimal on that. Also want to say that from my standpoint, do support staff on maintaining the 20-foot garages. I do feel like that's an important, when you look at these townhome developments, your ability to be able to put a car into your garage. Even as I say that, my garage is more of a storage facility than a garage in my personal home. So parking is of value, and especially on a site like this, parking is definitely of a value as well on this. A couple other comments that I have out there, and this would be more for Public Works, and it's something that I would be optimistic that either the BOC, Public Works staff can work this out, but regards to comment 8A, Public Works comment, in lieu of any per lot contributions toward transportation improvements, widen South Green Hill Road from the southern boundary at the site to Lebanon Road to provide a continuous 3-lane section meeting the city's minor collectible typical section. Whereas I don't disagree that this amount of units will have an impact on that, but I believe that the impact from this, maybe the traffic study can define that a little bit better than me, or definitely can, being a licensed professional to perform that kind of a study. The movement out of this, I would believe, is more of a southerly movement. At this point in time, there is no stoplight being made to the Lebanon Road connection up there. It would be my belief that based upon the experience, that people find the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance, if you're a resident within this, would certainly be to, if you're heading north, to move out of your development and go to Lebanon Road at that point and not off of Green Hill. As can be evidenced on any given morning with the traffic on Madeiras Drive in itself. For those trying to avoid the stoplight or quote unquote think that they're going to get from A to B a little bit quicker. And you can see that out there. So I don't know that I necessarily support the widening of South Green Hill from the entrance back to Lebanon Road. However, I do believe that it is warranted to have XL, decel turning lanes out there on South Green Hill, and that staff and the developer can work through those issues. Certainly support staff's recommendation for the decel lane out on Lebanon Road as well on that. And maybe it moves back to in lieu of to a per lot contribution. So that our city commissioners and staff can warrant and appropriate the money into an appropriate place. As somebody that travels South Green Hill on a daily basis, that intersection of South Green Hill and Lebanon Road, Highway 70 is probably my predominant path every single day. Particularly at nighttime, your movement when you're on Highway 70 heading west, and then you want to turn south on the South Green Hill Road. That is a challenging movement, and not because of the alignment as much as inadequate lighting. And so I would like to see lighting installed up there from a safety standpoint to the on the corner of the South Green Hill and Lebanon Road right there, improving visibility at that site. There's several complications when you look at the ability to, we're already getting the right of way dedicated for if South Green Hill should ever be widened right there. But if South Green Hill was ever widened to meet that dedication, you're talking about a grand effect on the homes to the south and how it would impact those homes to the south if you carried that, and the possibility that some of those residents would have a road right in their front yard, which would be a staff calls it in here, a minor thoroughfare, I believe is what it was called. And so rather not create wider roads, create more speed and have a tendency to do so. And so if you basically have a racetrack in front of a trail, you're going to race to get to the trail. And so I personally would rather not have that. Plus I grew up going to that church on the corner when it was St. Paul's. And should we widen the road through that section right there, we're almost going to get ourselves into a condemnation situation with their parking lot there across the front. And I don't think that that's warranted either, not to mention a major gas blow-off valve that's located at the corner of Lebanon Road and South Green Hill that would most likely have to be relocated should we do this. And so I would be looking at it from a standpoint of what can we get to truly improve South Green Hill Road. Plus, if we commit to that, we're also at the mercy of Wilson County Road Commissions. That is a county road. And so we could approve this tonight and say, hey, you have to make those improvements, only for the county to turn around and tell us that we can't make those improvements. And then we've got something that is outside of our staff, our city leaders' control right there, with a commitment that can't be followed through with. And so it goes by the wayside. So I would be more in favor of the XL, decel turning lanes, increased lighting up there, and a possible in-lot contribution versus the widening of South Green Hill north back to Lebanon Road. That is just kind of my personal feeling of that. over here. I do believe that it does provide a transition. I would like to see as it goes forward, staff has made a comment of this. Do need to figure out a way for parking for your mailbox kiosk and your amenities. Feel confident that that can be worked out by FMDP, should it go that far. But I agree with staff's assessment on that as well. I mentioned at the last meeting as well that my sister lives in a development very similar to this. I drive a very big vehicle, and I've so far received 5 warnings from their HOA for parking in the road. So I feel like that if you have that aggressive, like one time it was like 5 minutes and I had a parking warning, that this one will probably be upheld much the same. And so you could get a parking warning for doing nothing but checking your mail. And plus you want to make it safe for you to check your mail and get in and get off. I know that get in and get out, check your mail and whatnot. Very challenging, maybe a possible relocation of the mailbox kiosk in itself, and then allowing you to increase your availability of parking towards your amenities up there. Those would be my comments, and certainly support staff's comment as well with the sidewalk into your buffer over there. The purpose of maintaining that buffer, especially against residential, is to get in there and not touch it. And so I'd like to see that not touched either. And maintain that buffer for the residents over there to the west that live on Banderas Drive. And that way it continues to make it as harmonious as possible with the adjacent properties, which I think holds a lot of inherent value to this as well. Those would be my comments. Please.
I see that staff added the 10% rental restriction on there. So I don't need to add that, but I will add as a condition for approval, the blasting. The reductions is 1 inch per second. State law allows for 2 inches per second. So we'll be looking to reduce that by 50%. So 1 inch per second. And then also within 500 feet from the perimeter, notice of pre and post blasting surveys be done based on certified letter. The third is the general contractor will hold the contract with the blasting monitoring company and not the blasting company themselves. So
We have no issue with that. And likely this site would not require blasting, believe it or not.
Okay.
A site in Tennessee that might not need blasting, right?
okay, that's good. That's shocking to hear, but okay. Wilson County, there's rocks everywhere. That's it.
Further questions, comments? Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, let's call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please go to the microphone and name and address for the record.
My name is Holly Long, 2200 Dinah Court. That's in Mount Vernon Estates. And made comments last time and have been following this. And I just have a few additional comments from what I've heard since last time. Mr. Quinn talked a lot about, if you value small businesses in the community, if you value jobs and certain things too. And I would also want you to consider valuing the safety of the people in that area. We have a lot of teenagers on that road. Everybody knows Green Hill High School is there. We have tons of teenagers in our neighborhood in Willoughby Station. That road is teenager central. I mean, I love them, and I'm about to have 4 teenagers within the next 6 or so years. And it scares me for them now to pull out onto South Green Hill Road the way it is now. And with that increased density, more population there, it's not what's best for the safety of our children, not this type of dense development. Second, at the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about precedent being set. If we go with this developer and we do this, we're setting precedent. But I just want to remind you that precedent is set for the single family zoning that we have now. That's what that area is. That's what that area should be. That's what we as residents who live in that area want it to be. We want it to remain that way. And just because we have a developer coming in right now there's several issues, and I appreciate all the work that they've done to get this property something that they can develop, but there will be other developers. There will be other plans. There will be people who come in and want to put in single family homes there, where it might just be a row of townhomes and then nice single family homes like we have down the street from there with commercial in the front. But it will not be the last development we get a chance to approve. And it's not the development that should be in that area. And I appreciate you asking for the single family homes. That's what it needs to be, even if it was partially rezoned or something like that. But we would wish for it to stay zoned as it is and just maybe wait for a development that is right for that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Paul Workman, 3011 Melbourne Court East in Mount Juliet in Willoughby Station. And I was here a month ago, and there were a lot of adjustments, suggested changes, questions and thoughts from the board members, the commission members. And what I haven't heard tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, if the developers could correct me if I'm wrong also, I haven't heard any responses to the concerns that the neighbors rose a month ago. I haven't heard it addressed as to why is it changed from 40 single family properties to 120 townhomes. I have heard one response to that, partial, which is that it opens up availability to people for theoretically lower cost to enter that area. I haven't heard the argument as to why that is important. I would be curious to know from the Planning Commission or the City of Mount Juliet, what percentage of all units added to Mount Juliet, I'm just picking this number, in the last 3 years, let's say, what is the proportion of single family homes to townhomes or apartments? In my observation, which has not been scientific, and being in the corridor of Mount Juliet Road, Division, Green Hill, Lebanon Road, I'd say it's about, I'm guessing, 10% max. So you're turning Mount Juliet heavily into a townhome apartment world. And there's been very significant developments in that way. I pass each day the townhome development that's on Division, that is almost to Mount Juliet, heading east on Division, I think, almost to Mount Juliet Road. It's a little bit past the church that's right there where the police officer watches the traffic and the intersection. And that townhome development, which is small, I don't know how many units are in there. You drive by there any time before 8 o'clock in the morning, the entire complex is one solid car parked along those streets. Every single spot has a car in it, not in the garages. So I would suggest that this is all seems to be kind of logistical planning commission lingo that's going on here. It's all about the details. Let's make sure the copper water flows right. We got the mailbox kiosk. That's not what makes life. That's not what makes it comfortable and enjoyable living somewhere. You can get your mail out of the box. So yeah, you guys get buried in those details and those lingos. You're missing the big picture. And nobody wants to hear about the big picture. I live in the big picture. I don't know if any of you live in that big picture that's going to be tripled in density from what was proposed. 200% more, but it's a tripling of density. And I know if I stay here 5 more years, there will be a surge of safety issues and accident issues in that intersection. I guarantee you. And I'm going to write it down, what I said tonight, and I'm going to bring it back here when that's the history, if you're still in your positions.
Thank you. Sure, please.
I appreciate your comments on that. I wasn't here last month for the meeting. I was in flight. I actually have been keeping track of the high density to single family homes since I was elected. Jennifer Hamlin's been kind enough to provide those statistics for me. She's pulling them up right now, but when I was elected, we were around 18% high density, which is apartments and townhomes, to single family homes. Right now, as of about 2 months ago, is the last time I had to pull these numbers, we were close to 22, 23%. So we're creeping up. I don't want to see it go much higher than that. So I'm looking at it from a ratio standpoint to make sure we're maintaining that 23% or below. To your first question, why high density as opposed to RS40? I can only speculate, but my guess has something to do with the land price. The land prices. So the landowners are asking more money for their land, and the only thing that makes sense from a development standpoint is to put higher density housing on it so they can get their money back. I'm speculating. I don't know that for a fact, but if I were a betting man, that's what's driving it. It's the land price. No. Okay. We can talk afterwards if you like. That was it.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's good information. Please.
Ray Justice, District 1 City Commissioner. I've listened to some of the comments made up here, and I want everybody to realize this is in District 1. Okay. And I would really like for the folks to take a peek at what's happened since 2010 in District 1. Okay. In 2010, Mr. Floyd, Chief Floyd, my friend, was commissioner at that point. 2012, I became commissioner again. And I will tell you that the zoning for anything in District 1 for the new subdivisions that was done was prior to 2000. Now, we've done some rezones and in the form of PUD developments, but there's not been any, excuse me, any multifamily in my district prior to 2000 that I'm aware of. And that was the apartments that are being done on Nonoval Road right now. And that was done in the county back when Wind Tree Trace was actually being done. There's not been any multifamily development that's been approved in my district, in District 1. I stood in the middle of Mount Juliet Road for many years, standing up there with my hands up, telling the people, no, don't you stay over in Providence area. Y'all handle your business over there and leave us alone in District 1. And I've been pretty successful at doing that. You can't stand in the middle of Mount Juliet Road anymore and wave your hands because people will run over you now. A whole different crowd of folks, and there's a lot more of them. It's a wave. And so the south end of town is pretty much built out. It's Weathers. It's got land over there all around her that people are probably clamoring for, trying to get you to sell, trying to get it developed over there because it's built out to a large degree. All they've got left is to go down to Beckwith, down to the area by the interstate, Golden Bear, or to come north to District 1 and District 2. And so we want to make sure that we manage the development that comes in. We don't want to make the same mistakes that were made over in the Providence area in 2003 when all that mess started. We realized that there were some mistakes made. We don't want to remake them. So no, we're not looking for a bunch of multifamily coming in there, but it's just like somebody was talking about earlier, the only option that we have for anything that even looks close to affordable housing is going to be in the form of townhomes. But right now, my kids cannot afford to move to Mount Juliet. They're starting out in life. It's too expensive here. Developers are being asked to spend a lot of money by the landowners. They're ponying it up, and then they're coming in here, and yes, Commissioner Hefner, you're exactly right. It's about the money, how much they're having to pay, and how much of the land cost is, how much the land development cost is. There's a lot more goes into that. If they can't afford to do it, then they'll move on to another piece of property. I get that. We have to manage what's here. Manage doesn't mean stop. So again, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you this is the best plan. I think that we've got a very competent staff that needs opportunities to look at this. So, I mean, tonight, if I'm not mistaken, you don't correct me, but whatever happens either comes with a positive or a negative recommendation from this commission to the city commission. Isn't that correct?
Goes forward regardless. Yes, sir.
Correct. Okay. So I just want to make sure that there's no misconception. District 1 is not responsible for the huge growth wave that we've experienced in Mount Juliet.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill Trevette again, 1403 Brighton Circle. So this second phase here, obviously, if we don't have to blast Commissioner Hefner, we would be able to get those houses with basements, which will be able to increase the value of those homes. Obviously, there's been some great discussion tonight. My district is right down the street. So when we talk about, affordable homes, we've got over 200 townhomes that were supposed to be considered to be out there for these residents to purchase. They unfortunately turned into apartments, or glorified apartments is what I would consider them to be, because now they're all owned by a large company. And then you've got Hickory Hills townhomes. You've got the second and third phase of those same townhomes, which, if we're looking for affordable housing, for our students, or like our kids, also, residents that are coming in here. I spoke to some of you today. Obviously, we all had to start somewhere. And I don't know anybody that, as a first-time home buyer, is looking to purchase, a $300,000 to $400,000 townhome, which is basically what these are going to end up being. If they're going to be in the 2 or the 150, I would love to see that, and love to see how quickly they get picked up. But I can tell you right now, we're probably going to be shooting between 300,000 and 400,000 for these first-time home buyers. Go back to what we all went to, which is, our first homes. It's not going to be there. So obviously, like when we look at traffic, there is some concerns there. Absolutely. When it comes to South Green Hills. And currently the plan that they submitted, this developer, I'm really concerned because it's also in the backyard of the existing homeowners. There is some overlapping when you got the easement there, as well as some concerns as you are going on the back lot there. Also some shortening there. When it comes to the parking, there's many great examples of the narrow roads in these townhomes, as well as what these developers have given us. My biggest concern is that they throw in these townhomes and leave the commercial sitting there for the next developer to come up and buy it, and then we get stuck with whatever they decide to throw in. So there's many concerns here with this developer, or these ideas. I don't want to just point it out to the developer, as well as just the land use that it's currently going to be presenting back to the BOC. So I would just like this board to consider everything that was discussed tonight, the concerns. I am in favor of the single family homes back there. I think, there is some options to look at the transition from commercial to the single family. But, if this land has already been approved for that, for the single family homes, I think we need to keep it that way. And that's what I'm going to be hoping for, that this board and the next board considers. But thank you, staff and board tonight, for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Hello, Ruz Chakralahi. I live in 1185 Mount Vernon Lane. I just wanted to ask the board, I know like the chairman stated that this is a county road. Would the city and the board be willing to consider annexation of that road from the county to make it within the city's jurisdiction? And would the developer be willing to earmark some funds for further development of that road if everything does go forward? Thank you.
Come on.
Hello again. Jeff Stover, 2604 Potomac Court. As I said before, I live in Mount Vernon Estates. The only way in and out of Mount Vernon Estates is on South Green Hill. I've lived there for 17 years. I've had 3 children have to get out of that neighborhood. It's scary. I appreciate Mr. Winchester noting that it is county-owned. Well, the county starts owning it just south of Virginia Road there up. Mr. Winchester also said something interesting. He said, take the path of least resistance. This housing, high density goes in there. That neighborhood along Tanglewood, it's going to get a lot more traffic in there because it's easy to get around. The other concern I have is Mr. Winchester said, we'll take the path of least resistance. It sounded to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that if you were in there, the path of least resistance would not be to go out on South Green Hill and go up to the light, but to go out onto Lebanon Road. Perhaps there's your solution. Cut off the exit to South Green Hill, make the neighborhood go in and out along Lebanon Road. Most of the neighborhoods that I've seen around here usually only have one exit to a main road, not 2. So that's a possibility. Looking at the literature put out by the city under bulk standards, the total acreage of the proposed development is 23.11 acres, exceeding the minimum required for multifamily development of 20 acres. Well, that's true to a point. But once you start putting that commercial, that drops below 20%, 20 acres. You no longer meet that threshold. So that's to be some thoughts there. Professionally, I'm an environmental consultant. I appreciate Mr. Winchester's concern for the stormwater. We have seen over the last several years, since I've been here, like I said, for 17 years, major development in Mount Juliet. All you have to do is on a heavy rain, go down to the Mount Juliet League ball fields and see what poor planning has done as far as stormwater runoff. We have individuals sitting in this room tonight that live along that creek. If that is not done right, they're going to get flooded. What you also have to consider is Stoner Creek receives water from all over the place. Just because water is running down from the development doesn't mean it has a place to go if you keep developing. You've got major development going along Division Road right now. You've got new homes going in. That's going to increase runoff to the creek. You're going to get backup. If you do not take care of the stormwater right now, you're going to have a major problem on your hands. You're going to have a major problem on your hands if you decide to expand South Green Hill Road. You add 1 lane, where's that going? It's not going in the soil anymore. It's going straight off into the ditch. That ditch is going to run down. So you've got stormwater issues. So I think I understand the plan. I understand the desire of the developers. I understand that there's some in Mount Juliet that feel that we need to continue to have multifamily dwelling. There's another viewpoint, and that viewpoint is, why continue to develop? What's the rush right now to put this in? I don't think there is. As the local resident there, I would hate for us to make a wrong choice. One final thing on the traffic, and I'll end. I've lived there for 17 years. When we first moved there, it wasn't very busy. Over time, it got a little bit busier. 3.5 years ago, it went from not being very busy, becoming like Mount Juliet roads during certain hours. Those are school hours. You've got everybody from Brickstone coming on up there. You've got everybody from Willoughby Station coming up there to the high school. And now you're talking about putting another 117, that's how many units originally were proposed. That's not 117. It's closer to 150 to 160 new cars going on that road when they really don't have to, and that road is not built for that. There is a safety issue here. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening. Joe Haddock, CSDG, 2305 Klein Avenue. If I could, just a couple minutes of your time to address some of the comments around. Appreciate, as always, staff working with us. So I don't think this was talked about earlier in depth about the zoning change from CRC to RMA to the CMU that's in front of you tonight. So with that change, that actually allowed us to increase the commercial area from what you saw was before you last month. to tonight. We heard what you said last month about the amenities. We've gone to great lengths to add substantially more amenities to the plan, as I believe staff's noted in the report, create a more walkable neighborhood. As far as the building and the sidewalk that's shown in that landscape buffer, that's just some line work on our end. That happy to fix that. We heard what was mentioned last month about the parking. So as Mr. Quinn noted earlier, we've added the 2-car garages to the end caps and added additional surface parking. As staff notes, we're 114 spaces overparked just in the residential area. Ms. Hamlin mentioned earlier about the timing for the development of the commercial. I think you heard from the developer that they're willing to grade out the commercial pads and provide utilities, similar to what you've seen on other projects. And just for comparison, the closest townhome to Lebanon Road would be 350 feet away. So pretty big distance setting back off the road. It's not like the townhomes, and that's mostly due to what we've increased in the commercial space there. Luke, month after month, right? We talk about the size of your truck, right? Right. I mean, we do. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
So, how we've configured this is we have at least a minimum of 22 feet. Most of them are like 23 and a half foot driveway depth. So from the face of the garage to the back or to the face of the sidewalk. So 23 feet. And then you have a 6-foot sidewalk. Some of those sidewalks we've worked with staff, specifically Public Works, to move those to the opposite side of the unit, which just gives even more room. We've heard concerns about people parking on the road. I know Hickory Station there on Division's kind of the poster child for, look at this development, it's underparked, right? So we've taken lessons learned. Our driveway or the drive aisles are 26 foot wide per code now. I mean, the city's updated the requirements. So you get the extra width in the drive lanes, you get the extra width in the sidewalk and the extra depth in your driveways. Plus you add the 2-car garage plus additional parking throughout the development. So, we take that as a lesson learned, right? Because nobody wants to see a repeat of Hickory Station. Talked about blasting stormwater. I think with this project, as you've heard me mention before, we can easily commit to detaining through the 100-year storm event, which exceeds the current city requirements. I know there are plans in motion to update that, but we'll go ahead and commit to that requirement. I think that's all I had. Oh, traffic. Yeah. So as with all PUDs, traffic study was prepared and submitted. Very reputable traffic engineer who staff works with probably weekly. The results of that study indicated no improvements, not even what we're showing out on Highway 70 were needed for this development. So I think the developer's in agreement to make that improvement to 70. I think that helps traffic there. And then make a contribution to, any future road improvements within the area, as well as dedicate the right of way that could potentially be needed on South Green Hill. So I think it sets it up well. I guess the only other thing that's been mentioned is the existing zoning at RS 40. So that would, if we came in and followed the RS 40, we'd be able to get 54 lots. I mean, easy math. So we're, just over double what that would be. However, if we came in with a zoning following the existing land use, which is thoroughfare commercial, we could bring in I'm going to estimate somewhere, if we cram the commercial space on that site, 7 to 10 times the amount of traffic that this project would generate. And we would follow the land use without having to request an amendment. So just throw that out there for comparison. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Jones, and I live at 1616 West Wilson Boulevard in Mount Vernon Estates. I'd like to thank everybody in here. You spent a lot of time, and I think listened to a lot of people, and I don't want to hold you up anymore. I do want to say I think that a lot of the people that live in that corridor of the area of Willoughby Station, Mount Vernon Lane, we have seen an extended amount of traffic that we can do nothing about. Everybody's trying to get somewhere fast. And I think overall, we love the growth. I think it's great to know that we're in a place where people want to be, and it's growing. But I think we also want it to be growth the right way. And the only thing right now that I think that it's already been pointed out, but I think time is the thing that we have right now to consider our options, because I think Mount Juliet's a great place where everybody seemingly is looking at least to see if they can come in. I'm in property management. Chief and I used to see each other at Vanderbilt games all the time, but now I'm in property management. And I'm here to tell you that affordable housing is a very, well, let's just say it's a word in transition right now, wherever you are. It's not just a Mount Juliet problem. It won't be just a Mount Juliet problem. It's going to be everywhere. And so I love the growth. I love the energy. I just want it to be growth the right way. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time. Jeff, remember we used to just fight over basically having trampolines in our yards, and now we're fighting over this. So anyways, thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? See no additional citizen comments this time. I'll be looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on the agenda. As a reminder to everyone, this is a recommendation item. Regardless of a positive or negative recommendation, does move forward to the Board of Commissioners, at which time it would take 2 readings for its final approval. Should it, regardless of either one, it moves forward to the Board of Commissioners. Ms. Hamlin or Ms. Johnson, which BOC meeting would be its first presentation? Be on the December 12th agenda. So anyone wishing to follow the project all the way through, December 12th would be the first reading at the Board of Commissioners. So, and that is in regards whether there is a positive or negative recommendation. But that being said, looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda. Please.
Motion for a negative recommendation.
Got a motion? Got a motion and a second for a negative recommendation? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? That is a negative recommendation. All right. Thank you guys for showing up. I see, it's good to see Mr. Stover. He's been a long time coach at Mount Juliet Little League out here too. So hats off for that service to the community. It's one of those unseen items out there. Next item up on our agenda is item 6.1. It is to review the reconsideration of Public Works comment number 1 for City Station located at 2049 North Mount Juliet Road. Shane.
This was also a Mr. Barlow meeting. He got an email in front of me, and Commissioner Hefner, city manager, and then Director Barlow were on a conference call with TDOT concerning the condition that staff did not support the right turnout on City Station at the September Planning Commission meeting. And to summarize that call, TDOT traffic now supports the ride out only onto North Nut and Juliet Road. And with that development on this project is the reason why we brought it back to the Planning Commission with the support of the city manager.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anything from planning?
I just wanted to add that I do appreciate TDOT's willingness to work with staff and support staff recommendations. I think they denied the application for the right out only, subject to Mr. Barlow's condition here, but which is why we're bringing it back tonight.
Sure.
Is that correct in speaking that unless they're not willing to grant
I don't know
that?
if it was formally applied
TDOT?
for. I'm not 100% aware of that. Commissioner Hefner might know more details on that, but I do believe that with TDOT bringing their recommendations is what brought it back to the planning.
Yeah, I
Commission.
think they would just feel a little more comfortable if you guys
Yeah.
made action on it, is what I'm trying to
I
say.
can-
I think Joe
Please.
had.
Yeah, so I spoke with TDOT directly because when this came before the Planning Commission, I was against it because I was under the advisement that TDOT was going to deny it. So why would we approve something that we already know in advance is going to get denied? So I had to speak to TDOT directly to hear this from them, and he said that TDOT would support a ride out. So I had contacted Andy Barlow and suggested he bring it back for reconsideration. So if TDOT will support it, I'll support it. Yeah, go ahead.
Please, name and address for the record.
Evening, Joe Haddock, CSDG 2305 Clyde Avenue. So to address a couple of things here, the application has been formally submitted to TDOT. TDOT came back, asked for clarification regarding Public Works comment number 1, where at the end, staff had correctly said, regardless, it's up to TDOT. I think that he's just asking for a more clear definition that ride out would be approved subject to TDOT approval from our discussions and as Commissioner Hefner mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the commission? This time, let's call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment, welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone for your name and address. For your name and address, does it? Yeah, I did, didn't I? See no citizen comments this time. I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second that. It's a motion and a second.
May I just add,
Please.
Would you add a condition that is subject to TDOT approval?
Yes, motion to approve subject to TDOT approval.
Thank you.
Second stands. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Is that a,
I was 4. I was just.
okay, that was a 4. All right. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, caught a borderline on that one right there. Yeah. That is approved. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion. I'm going to second that one. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye. Against? We are adjourned.